There's a form sitting on a kitchen table somewhere in Pennsylvania right now with a one-time box that you can check. And whichever box gets checked is going to decide hundreds of thousands of dollars of retirement income for that family. Now, most people pick the box in about 10 minutes. And
Hmm.
once they sign, they can never change their mind. Today, that pension decision is one that nobody walks back, and we're going to be talking about it today on Unlock Your Retirement.
All right. You're right. You are listening to Unlock Your Retirement with our host, Bruce Smith, who posed a very interesting scenario that a lot of actually people go through. They make this decision. They might spend 10, 15 minutes talking about it. And it is huge. It is a major financial decision. It's one that, sure, they might be taking it seriously, but do they really know the implications? So, Bruce, you're the founder of WealthKare Investment Center. You've been an advisor for retirees and near retirees for a long time now. You've been in the financial
Let's
business.
just leave it at that. A long time, yes. Many, many, many moons. Many trips
Well,
around the
let's
sun.
just say I've been in radio about the same amount
Oh,
of
here we
time
go.
you've been in finance. So it's we've both been around the block a couple of times. So um I think pension, we're talking about lump sum versus the lifetime payments or lifetime annuity. So this is good. I think this decision is important, right? It's still happening. We still, even though the pension has kind of gone the way of the pension, as I like to say, there are still people out there making this decision. And sometimes people are offered a lump sum or a payment in their job. Government employees, maybe some of them had that choice to make when Doge was happening. There are still some big companies or maybe some C-suite workers, executives, or founders that have a plan where maybe do I take a lump sum payout? Am I getting a payout or do I have a choice? So this is an important choice, isn't it?
Did you say C-suite? Really? Did you say that on the air?
C-suite, like C-suite executives, that's a thing,
Yeah, I
right?
know. Well, there's also C's suites.
Oh, yeah, CC's, yeah, C's candy or C's sweets.
C's candies, and that's a
You're
favorite of
thinking
mine.
candy. I'm thinking of
No,
C-suite
I'm thinking of Warren
executives.
Buffett. That Warren Buffett loves See's candies,
He
and we ordered
does.
their peanut brittle. Their peanut brittle is amazing. So,
It is.
yeah, it's you can find it on Amazon, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's not cheap, but I'll tell you what,
No.
it's amazing peanut brittle. So, yeah. No, I mean, this is a very dangerous situation for most people, and they don't even realize it. They apply all kinds of logic. They listen to coworkers. They may listen to a financial advisor who's, got a plan for the rollover. You do the rollover, don't do the income payout. I mean, there's a lot. There can be conflicts of interest. There can be skewed views in this. But this is nobody walks this one back. When you make this decision, you don't get to change it. And it's a big decision.
Mm.
Yeah, I've seen people make these decisions. I've seen them play out over 10, 20, 30 years. Not so much 30 years, but probably I'd say 20. I've seen rollovers like this options for over 20 years. And there's a lot of math that goes into it, but more importantly, there's a lot of different math that goes into it. Social security calculations come into play. Taxes certainly come into play. Longevity comes into play. Your health status, yours and your spouse's, comes into play. There's just a lot, your obviously your debt load, your necessary income. I mean, just going down that list, I think I just gave several listeners a headache, and that's and nobody likes this. Nobody wants to do this. Everybody wants to get on with retirement. It's like, I worked all these years. I'm here. Let's check the box. Let's move on. Let's do our thing. And this is one of those things that you don't want to find yourself 5, 10, 15 years down the road and go, I think I made the wrong decision. And I've seen it go both ways, regardless of which choice they choose. Now, there's some interesting extra horsepower. If you choose the lump sum, you can get a 5 to 10% return. And that's, 5 to 10% return. And that's, but you've got to really have a very specific type of firm that's handling that to be able to facilitate some of the things we're going to talk about today. So, yeah,
Sure.
I mean,
There's
it's a big
there's
one.
pros and cons to both.
Yeah, and
Obviously.
probably a good place to start is why? Why are they doing this? Why are these companies offering it? It's like, you worked for a number of years and you probably got one of those, updates from HR once a year and said, hey,
Sure.
here's how much you're going to get every month for the rest of your life. And if you want to provide for your spouse, here's how much you'll get and how much the spouse will get. And we were programmed, just we kept seeing that, okay, that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. We got a plan. And then lo and behold, we get this complex legalese, letter in the mail that says, hey, and sometimes they don't give a choice. They basically say, we're going to offer you a lump sum payout on your annuity, and what do you do in that case? And the fact of the matter is, the reason they're doing it is because of instability in the financial world and in these pension funds. The whole birth of the 401k began because pension funds realized that people were living longer, and you have X amount of dollars, and you have to provide what you're guaranteeing them as an income for the rest of their life. But if they're living longer, they're drawing on the pool longer, and the pool of money is shrinking. And as that pool of money shrinks, it shrinks at a faster and faster and faster rate because people aren't dying on schedule for what the actuary said. That's a terrible thing to say, but it is a mathematical progression. So we're seeing this to where companies as a whole want to get out from under this obligation. There's one thing you never hear people talk about, and that is, when they make this obligation, the pension fund itself can go broke. And if it
Yeah.
goes broke, then who's responsible? Do you know?
Well, if it grows broke, I don't know if anyone is responsible. I mean, we've seen pensions go broke and the people who were getting them were left in the cold, weren't they? I mean, explain that to us.
Very rare, very rare. A good
Okay.
example is Chrysler. Chrysler, when Chrysler
Oh,
went bankrupt, basically, first of all, so there's a thing you can Google it if you have the Googler out there, or you're using your favorite engine,
sure.
and you can look up PBGC. It's the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation.
Ah,
It's
okay.
it's
I
kinda
wasn't
like an
familiar.
FDIC. Oh, really? Well, I'm here to teach not only our listeners, but Mr. Tony today is going to learn
Yeah,
some
I don't know a
rules.
lot about how pensions,
Yeah.
corporate pensions work.
Well, then we're gonna have some fun today because
Never had the fortune, to have one. I know a little bit about government pensions and TSPs and how all that works, but
right.
I know, if I was given the choice of lump sum versus payments, what I would choose, but yes.
What would you choose? What would
I
you
would choose payments every time.
I
Guaranteed mailbox money. Now, that's bec
I choose lump sum 90% of the time.
would you? Oh,
Yes,
okay.
I would.
It
The reason
depends
why.
on usually the lump sum is less though, typically, isn't it? I mean, if you add up the payments over time?
See, that's the whole thing. Is it the it I think you're gonna be my prima facie
Yeah.
case today,
Sure,
of
sure.
well, let's
That's
go back
you
to
use
PBGC.
me because I don't know anything about this and haven't given, I just know people immediately a lot of people go for the lump sum because they're like, I get it now. I want it now. It's immediate. It's why people most people I had a friend who was offered a big payout for Anderson Windows, huge company. They offered a bunch of their employees buyouts for their pensions.
Mhm.
And he snatched it up like he said, I didn't have to think about it. They're offering me all this money right now. And I go, what was the other option? And he goes, it was so much a year or a month for the
For
rest of my
life.
life.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, was there an option the rest of it for your life and your wife's life? Because you have to think of your spouse. And
Mhm.
number two, right? You're going to talk about that. But number two is, did you do the math?
Yeah.
And he goes, well, I kind of in my head, I don't know how long I'm going to live. So I'm just taking the lump sum. I did the math for him and said, what were they offering? He showed me. And I said, if you live to this date and you had taken the payouts, here's the amount you would get. And it was quite a bit more than now. If he invests, if he's working with Bruce Smith and Bruce has a great investment team, invest it for him. And he was able to make grow that larger sum over a bigger amount of time. Could he have made more? Sure. He might have made a lot more, but it depends on your situation, right?
Let's stay with PBGC, and we're going to get to
Okay.
where you're at.
Okay.
And this is
Okay.
the whole point of this show is that
Right.
when we talk about lump sum pensions, it's not just a box on a piece of paper or simple math like you tried to
Right.
do.
Right.
It doesn't work that way. So PBGC is so when Chrysler went bankrupt, basically when a pension fund goes bankrupt, then the federal government, actually it's an independent organization, but the
Mhm.
government's involved. So the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation steps in and they're making, so that check you get or that deposit you're getting is no longer coming from the Chrysler pension fund. It was coming from PBGC. Well, that's fine, but there is a limit to the benefit that you can get. So your C-suite people, your white collar people at Chrysler, and when this happened, there was still checks in the mail. So picture Charlie, an former executive, retired executive from Chrysler, goes down to the mailbox and opens the mailbox. Hey, here's my check, but it's from PBGC. Well, oh yeah, I heard about that. Okay, and he slices open the envelope and looks at the check and he goes, "Whoa, these guys made a mistake." Well, guess what? He hit the limit and he probably took about a 30 or 40% drop in income for his retirement income. So, if you're relying on the pension fund to
Sure.
fund whatever that number is, and if they go broke, that number is not necessarily guaranteed depending on what your particular payout is. So there's one item. Item two, and that's funny. Two people on the same radio show. One guy said, "Oh, I'd take the annuity almost every time." I'd say I'd take the lump sum. And now, does that mean either one of them is right for one of our listeners? No.
No, everybody's situation is
You've
different.
got to do the math.
Yeah.
We had a situation a number of years ago. I'll never forget it. It was so ridiculously impactful. I had a state trooper that was retiring, and whenever we went over the state retirement pension, he said, "I want the maximum I can get every single month." And I said, "Well," he had a wife and two kids, and I said, "Look," I said, "you can get this amount, but if you drop dead tomorrow, it's over." I mean, you've got about a $700,000 pension here, but
Yeah.
if you take that I want every dime I can get because I gave them the best years of my life, and he was arrogant about it. And I'm like, okay, I said, but here's the risk of it. Here's the downside. 6 months after retirement, brain tumor gone in 9 months.
Mm.
And his wife and kids didn't get a penny after that. And so I mean, that was a payout, but not a lump sum. But he took no guarantees. He had no safety net, no protections. Now the lump sum. So the math that you did for your friend was probably flawed. And here's why, is because the way the payout works is it's not just I've got to make enough money on the principal to replace the income that they're providing in the annuity, because no way will those numbers work out. But it's a declining balance over time. It's saying they're offering me $500,000 and they're offering to pay me this much per month. You've got to put that $500,000 out there and then say, okay, I'm going to be taking my gains plus a little bit of principal all the time. And that's
Sure.
how you get, so basically you're going to see a declining value in that. And eventually it zeroes out at some magic age. Now, if you live past that age, like my dad lived to 93 drawing a pension, he broke the bank. Okay.
Right.
So, so that's one. But there's an advanced planning tool that nobody talks about. And we have people who took a lump sum, we did our tax planning, and because they didn't have a pension, so all they had was Social Security for each of the spouses. And in the one case I'm thinking of in particular, they both had a lump sum buyout option on their pension. We took it. Okay. And over the next, I believe it was in their case, I think it was 9 years, we were able to convert that entire lump sum pension for both of them to Roth.
Tax-free bucket.
So
Sure.
now 100% of that income they were getting was tax-free for the rest of their life, and they were able to pay no taxes on their Social Security,
Right.
and the lowest Medicare cost. And the really interesting trick to this one,
So I wasn't taking into account tax planning
nobody does,
and the big picture.
This is how you really
Sure.
unlock the value in a lump sum pension. And then we went out to, and I know this isn't a big fan, people are out there aren't big fans of this, but it's a tool. We went to an annuity company and
Ah,
they said, "Hey, we'll give you a payout and we'll give you a 20% bonus on the deposit." Now, 20% bonus on the deposit, I always say is smoke and mirrors, but in the case of their scenario, the payout was far superior to what the company was offering.
oh
But
yeah.
now when we put that money in, it was tax-free money. So that was a tax-free guaranteed lifetime income for both of them, and it was a 100% survivor benefit. So regardless of who died first. So there's my point to all of this is, yes, it is an important decision. It is not a decision to be taken lightly, but it's also not a decision that you need to take the advice of a coworker, a family friend,
Oh yeah.
Tony Shore, any
Right.
you really want to have the numbers run,
Yeah.
and that's
Well,
the thing. So yeah,
well, and you have to take your spouse into consideration. If you have a
absolutely.
spouse, a lot of people I've seen this mistake, and you can speak to this. You alluded to it earlier, and that is a big mistake people make. Sometimes they don't. Some options they say we'll give you a lump sum or we'll give you a payout for life, and some people say, well, I've got longevity, I've got a while to live. I'm going to take that payout for life, like I said,
Mhm.
but it's for my lifetime. Maybe
Right.
the option is I check the box payout for my lifetime. So when I pass, if that's 6 months from now or 20 years from now, that stops because it's paid to me. And
Right.
my spouse, the surviving spouse, doesn't get any more of that. So if the person only lives 6 months, like the example you gave, a few
Yeah.
months later they're gone, 6 months or a year, then the spouse is left with nothing. Sometimes there's an option if you take a smaller monthly payout or yearly payout, it's for your spouse's lifetime as well. And so that is a third option, but you don't want to take the payout for my lifetime if you have a spouse and you're concerned about that. That's a huge, huge problem. A lot of people just check a box without thinking, or like me, they just thought they could do the math on their own, but didn't consider their spouse, didn't consider, like I wasn't considering tax implications.
Well, and
I
another
just I was just being really brutally honest, where I'm just like, if I know I can get guaranteed mailbox money in retirement, I always want to take it. And that's my leaning. But I
right.
don't know about, I've never had to think about pensions really, because I've never, I don't have a pension, and I don't think I'll ever be in that situation at this point in my life. But for people who do have that option, like my buddy, he took the lump sum, might work out better, but I think a lot of people who take it don't invest it. They're not working with somebody like yourself. They're not working with WealthKare Investment Center, and that's the problem, right?
And then there's another angle to it, which is, and I think I guess the best way to summarize this point is we've been doing this so long, we've seen so many scenarios. But one of the things is, we have some old school ideas that you don't even hear about very often because there isn't a lot of pensions. So when you alluded to, the spouse getting a benefit if the primary person dies. Okay, so and 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 to get that benefit, so whatever the maximum would have been just for the worker himself, him or
Mhm.
herself, they have to take a lesser payout if they're gonna provide for their spouse. And I said,
Right.
"Okay, so if you're gonna take a haircut, if you're gonna take monies every month and apply that so that there's a benefit for somebody else, there's some other financial instrument out there that functions kind of the same way. What is that, Tony? Do you know?"
Are we talking about an annuity?
No, life insurance.
Oh, life insurance, sure,
Right,
because there's a spousal
what is life
benefit. Sure,
insurance? I'm
yeah,
giving up
there's
money every month,
yeah,
and if I die, a big chunk of money, tax-free, comes out of the sky and
yeah,
provides for
and it's
my
tax
heirs.
free. Yeah,
Yeah, so, here's where
especially
this gets
cash value
interesting.
life insurance is really beneficial.
Typically, right,
Yeah,
exactly correct. So, but here's what's neat about that. So if you do that, and so you can take the bigger benefit, which is just on you.
sure,
You self-fund the life insurance, which was the haircut that the pension fund was gonna do anyway,
right.
and you buy life insurance so it covers the spouse if something happens to you. But where this gets interesting is what if the spouse predeceases you? then you cancel the life insurance, cash it in, and you're getting that higher income stream than you were before. So, I mean, we've just spit out 3 or 4
Mm,
different interesting options that go with whether you take the lump sum, or if you don't take the lump sum, what if you're taking the income? What's the best choice there?
yeah.
And see, there's
You've
there's
given
about
some great reasons to take the lump sum. As you said, in
yeah,
90% of the cases, you'd take the lump sum, and so that makes sense. But, it depends on the individual situation. But boy, that's another great reason. That's one I didn't think about. I always immediately go to annuities, which you brought up earlier. There might be an
mhm,
annuity that you can take the lump sum and create a better payout schedule than the company could give you. And so that's a no brainer, because that's what a pension is. It's an annuity, just like Social Security. You
sure,
put money in, you get the lifetime income out, or a set amount of income out. So that's really important, to have steady income in retirement. But you can also help the spouse with life insurance, if the spouse is a consideration.
right. And
Yeah,
on the income side, what if that pension is more than what you need? Well, it's being forced upon you. You're going to get it. You're going to be taxed on it. And you say, okay, hey, why don't we take the lump sum and let's take half of it and create the mailbox money you're talking about? Maybe that's all
sure.
they need. So, how much do you have in other retirement accounts? How much do you have saved? What is your debt structure? What does your income structure look like? And look, nobody who's retiring wants to go through the math. That's why you deal with someone like us. The investment portion's easy. People are do-it-yourselfers with Vanguard and Fidelity and what have you. And every week I sit down with people, and the number one comment, they're like, I hadn't considered these things. Yes, the investments I have a handle on, but Bruce, all these other things, and these are all things that come to light when you are retired, and the game has more numbers in it than it's ever had. The good
Yeah.
news is we have the experience and the tools. So but you can't, it all starts with a conversation. And that's what we love. And we've had some really good conversations the last couple of weeks. And really, we call the show Unlock Your Retirement. And during those calls, we unlock some key fact, like we just did
Yeah.
here about pensions, and it starts very simple. You can go to 888-888-5601. Write that number down or pull over, and now you just push the little microphone and talk to yourself, and it'll send you a text to yourself, 888-888-5601. Or you can go to wealthcare.com. That's the word Y, WHY, wealthcare with a K.com. There is going to be a change coming here in a few weeks, where everything is going to be at the original wealthcare.com site. So there's some new modifications coming,
Oh,
some new toys for people to play with. We're excited
fun.
about. Yeah,
Excellent. Yeah, and as those are unveiled, we'll let our listeners know about them, and what new tools and things there are there. I know you're working on a lot right now, Bruce, and it's exciting stuff. But for now, still there's so many great options and videos and information at whywealthcare.com. That's WHY wealth and care with a KARE.com. Whywealthcare.com. Bruce, great topic today. We had a great show. We're already out of time for this segment. But that's awesome. 888-888-5601 is the number to call. Bruce, thanks. Listeners and viewers, thanks for tuning in. That does it for this segment of Unlock Your Retirement with our host, Bruce Smith.